Good evening, everyone. I'm trying to keep it together now. That was emotional. I'm so honored to be here tonight, so honored by this award. I remember being in this hotel as a college senior, watching other women receive these awards, talented, accomplished women. And so you can imagine this is a very full circle moment for me, especially seeing Susan, and I want to congratulate Olivia and congratulate Karen for winning as well. I also want to take a moment to thank my table and my tribe, the people who came out for me. First is my friend and college blockmate, Chanel. She's a Harvard Law School graduate, world traveler, fierce lawyer, fiercer than any Shonda Rhimes character that you would imagine. Listen, don't try her, honey, okay? My blocking group, we called ourselves Golden, which stood for Goal-Oriented Ladies Determined to be Esteemed Nationwide. Little girls with very big dreams, but yeah. we are on our way. I also want to thank Katrina. She was my first college mentee through the Crimson Summer Academy. Katrina was curious, intelligent, athletic, and her dream was to go to college. And you can imagine how proud I was when she graduated from Brandeis and went on to become an educator. So proud of her. And then there's Amber, who was my Abwa little sib. She was a freshman when I was a senior. And the last person that I mentored before leaving Harvard, and she's gone on to Harvard Law School, Harvard Business School. She's there right now, has gone to China, and she's about to take over the world. So I am proud of you too, big girl. I introduced these women because these are the women who are part, again, of my tribe. It's always been about women's community for me. Ever since I was at Harvard, that was important to me. It felt very natural. And they've been there at every step of the journey. And I'm now 30 years old, and I never thought that I would say that my life is just getting started. I always thought I would have it together by now. But it is just getting started. Tonight I've been asked to speak about motivation and perseverance as it relates to career and personal life. And so I'm going to tell you about the single best piece of advice that I received that I did not follow. Right away. It came from Harvard president Drew Faust, who told the class of 2008 at our baccalaureate service, "Don't park 20 blocks from your destination because you think you will never find a space." She called it her parking space theory of career choice. She said, "Don't park 20 blocks from your destination because you think you'll never find a space. Go where you want to be, and then circle back to where you have to be." And although it was nice advice, for me, it was too late. Because you see, after spending 4 years in college, living my passions at the Harvard Women's Center, Association of Black Harvard Women, and doing public service, my senior fall, I was recruited by an investment firm. And I interviewed thinking I would never get the job, and then they gave me a 6-figure job offer. At the time, I was writing a thesis for social studies. I was battling a rare blood disorder, taking breaks from class to go and get treatment over at the Children's Hospital in Boston. And honestly, I just stopped right there. I think that, to use President Faust's analogy, I parked in the first spot that I saw. I didn't think too hard about the destination. And I thought that given that it was the height of a national recession in 07 and 08, I should be grateful just to have a job offer. And so, in one word, it was safe. And I stayed in that spot for a year. I learned a lot. I worked with some brilliant people, but I knew soon that I couldn't park there forever. It was too far from the destination that was really my purpose. So I took a leap of faith and a huge pay cut, and I decided to go into education. I became a teacher, like my mother. It was good work. It was honorable work. It was the type of work that challenges you but is rewarding every single day. And I felt at use in front of the classroom, building up my students, building their consciousness, exposing them to things in the world, and doing my part to tackle the injustice of educational inequity in this country. Yet, of course, that feeling, that sense that I still wasn't at my true destination started to creep back. And I was now in my late 20s working at an education policy organization in California, and like many of my peers, considering graduate school. And I'd gotten into a business school preparation program, and I had all these plans to pursue a management track in leadership. Where I was gonna do it, I wasn't sure, but it sounded good, right? Then I was at work and I got the chance to interview the CEO of the company, Michelle Rhee. She was writing a book about education, about to go on a national book tour, and so I interviewed her in front of the staff one day. And she turned and she looked at me in front of everyone and she said, "Well, aren't you just the little Oprah?" And I was like, "Well, thank you." It was an honor for her to say that, but people would come up to me after and they said, "You seem like you're in your element. You seem happy. You seem like you're doing what you love." And it was true. It was true that I love to ask questions, that I love to meet people, that I love to uncover new information, and in many ways it was like teaching, just with a different audience. And that's when it clicked for me, that all this time I was searching for a parking spot, trying to chase positions that had a leadership title to prove that I was a leader, when if I had just relied on my natural gifts, operated in the things that made me happy, I would have been able to lead right from there. In my college application essay, I found this much later, but I wrote that I wanted to be a broadcast journalist or president of the United States. Very, very Harvard kid thing to do. And it was so funny to find that, because I said, wow, how did I get off track? How did I get here and sort of get caught up in proving that I was a success? Thinking that because I had an offer and that I would make 6 figures, that should be enough. And so I had to go back to that drawing board again. And this time I called up all my mentors, including Susan Marine, and I said, I figured it out this time. And instead of asking them to write recommendations for business school, I asked them to write recommendations for journalism school. And I have to admit that while I was so excited to have figured out my destination, I figured it out, there was still great fear and well-meaning people who warned me that this was not a good idea. They said, the media industry is changing and this is a bad time to enter journalism. You're gonna be broke for years. You'll have to live in small market towns. The TV industry isn't kind to women. And at 27 years old, you're kind of a little bit older. And my favorite, when are you gonna settle down? But it was the year 2013. And this was the year that Oprah Winfrey and Soledad O'Brien both spoke at Harvard commencement, and it was my 5-year reunion, and I just knew it was a sign from God that I was supposed to go into journalism. This was the universe conspiring for my success, and so I came a day early for my 5-year reunion just to hear them as inspiration. And a few months later, I got into Northwestern Medill School of Journalism. I got a scholarship that would help me get through school. And shortly after that, I got my first TV reporting job. And so, yes, there were people who said it would be difficult, and they were right. When I got into the industry, there were months that I could barely make rent. I had the worst weekend shift, and I had to earn my way up, Harvard degree or no Harvard degree. But I learned the fundamentals of journalism. I made valuable mistakes, and I was humbled by meeting real people who had real problems at some of the worst points of their life, tragedy, and at some of the highest points of their life, being able to have the honor of telling their stories. I would make a couple more stops before getting to this destination that I'm at now at the Griot, and I finally feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I love my work. sitting and interviewing women like Viola Davis and Congresswoman Maxine Waters. I'm like, somebody pays me to do this? I'm elevating the voices of women and people of color, promoting positive narratives and images, challenging misogyny and racism and social injustice, inspiring people to live better the best way that I know how. This is what journalism allows me to do. This is my destination. And the best thing is, I'm just starting my career. There's so many people who do this well, and I aspire to be like them. And I'm driven by the possibilities of what we can accomplish in this new media landscape. I believe that in this era more than ever, storytelling, defending the freedom of the press, and good, quality, true journalism matters. And of course, there are hard days. There are overwhelming moments. There are sacrifices that must be made. I watch my Facebook timeline, every marriage, every engagement, every baby, every trip, every promotion. You see other people's highlights, and you get in your own head and you compare your life to theirs, and you think, wow, I have so far to go. And then you have nights like this, which affirm you and lift you up, and they remind you that it was okay not to settle. It was okay to get back in the car and find another spot and ask yourself where you really wanted to go. Don't park 20 blocks from your destination because you think you'll never find a space. It's the best advice I ever received. So in other words, don't start with plan B because plan A seems impossible. Don't downsize your dream into something more palatable for people who have not been blessed with your vision. Do not settle into spaces or relationships that don't honor your spirit when you know you desire and you deserve so much more. Do not doubt your ability to get to your final destination. Don't settle. It may be uncomfortable, but the weight of wearing a mask of someone you are not is uncomfortable and suffocating. It may be lonely, but learn to love your own company, especially women who are taught that we are complements to everyone else, because some stretches of your journey can only be traveled solo. And it may cost you something in the short term, but those long-term victories are so much sweeter. It took me almost 10 years, 2 degrees, 6 moves to discover that I could have the things I truly wanted, and as the great Dr. Maya Angelou once wrote, I could like myself, what I do, and how I do it. That to me is my destination, and that is the true definition of success. And for all the young people in the room who are thinking about that next step, only you can determine what your destination is and what your success will be. This award that I'm receiving is overwhelming, but honestly, I dedicate it to all the incredible women in my life, the women I know, Harvard and beyond, who are rising leaders working to do the same. For all the dreams that we have accomplished and the ones that we are about to go out and get, this is for us. Thank you.